I never thought betrayal would announce itself so casually, through a glowing Instagram notification at 2 in the morning. My wife Lauren had left just days earlier, insisting she needed space and would be staying with her sister for a month. No calls. No texts. No exceptions. I agreed, still clinging to the hope that maybe this was just a storm we could weather. But then my best friend forwarded me screenshots that ripped that hope apart. There was Lauren, cocktail in hand, sprawled out on a beach towel under the sun. And beside her, Blake, the coworker she once swore was just a friend. She wasn't taking time to think. She was taking time to cheat. My name is Daniel Reed. I'm 35 years old, a project manager for a construction firm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'd been married to Lauren for nearly 7 years. We had the kind of life people in our neighborhood envied. A 2-story house in a quiet cul-de-sac, matching cars in the driveway, and weekend barbecues with friends. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable, steady, and I thought happy. Lauren worked in marketing at a mid-sized firm downtown. She was the kind of woman who drew people in without even trying, quick-witted, ambitious, and magnetic. If she walked into a room, heads turned. I used to joke that she could sell water to a drowning man, and the scary thing was, it was true. She had charm to spare. And I loved her for it, or maybe I was blinded by it. Our marriage wasn't perfect. We argued about bills, about me spending too many hours at work, and about her late nights with coworkers. But those things felt normal, manageable. Every couple had rough spots, right? I never once suspected she'd betray me so completely. About a month before everything came crashing down, Lauren sat me down at the kitchen table. She looked tired, almost rehearsed, when she said she needed space. Claimed the stress from work was eating her alive. Said she wanted to stay with her sister Hannah in Ohio for a few weeks, to clear her head. She made me promise not to call or text, that she just needed silence, a reset button for her mind. I didn't like it, but I agreed. I told myself it was a bump in the road, nothing more. I was the loyal husband, giving her what she said she needed. 3 days later, reality hit me like a freight train. My phone buzzed with a message from my best friend, Chris. Bro, you need to see Lauren's Instagram. Attached were screenshots. My heart sank as I scrolled. Lauren was on a sun-drenched beach, cocktail in hand, captioned, "Finally breathing again. #healing #paradise. Paradise? Ohio doesn't have beaches. Another photo showed her at a beachfront bar. And there he was, Blake. The same Blake I'd met at her office party, the guy she brushed off as just a friend from work. He sat close, his arm draped behind her chair like it belonged there. The air left my lungs. It wasn't stress relief. It wasn't healing. It was betrayal. To be sure, I called Hannah. She sounded genuinely confused. Daniel, I haven't seen Lauren in months. That was it, the confirmation. My wife had looked me straight in the eye, asked for my trust, and then lied. At first I wanted answers. I fired off a text to Lauren, "Where are you really?" and waited. Nothing. My thumb hovered over the keyboard and then I sent a more pointed one. "Hope Blake is worth it." Still nothing. Within an hour her Instagram was locked down, private like a shuttered room. The silence felt like a slap. That night I lay awake on an empty mattress and replayed small details that suddenly felt like clues. Blake, just a coworker. The extra late nights that turned into mornings. The business trip, receipts I'd shrugged off. The way she'd smile a certain way when his name came up. None of it was coincidence anymore. It was deliberate. Someone had been living 2 lives and I'd paid for both of them. The betrayal cut deeper than sex. It was the theft of respect. She'd been living in our house, using our savings, and slipping out to a beach with a man I'd met once at an office barbecue. The gall of it made my stomach churn. I thought of the mortgage payments I'd covered, the busted water heater I'd fixed 2 winters ago, the times I'd stayed late at the site so she could have weekends with friends. Was all of that nothing to her? A week later she called, not an apology, not a confession, just that clipped voice I'd heard before rehearsed to avoid guilt. "I need more time, Daniel. Don't contact me." She asked me to respect her space, like she hadn't already demanded it and abused it. The audacity made me laugh once, low and hard, But it wasn't the release I wanted. It was fury steeled into something colder. While she stonewalled, the world filled in the blanks for me. Chris kept texting. Sightings, screenshots, locations. Mutual friends in town whispered. Someone had seen them at the resort bar. Someone else had a blurry shot of them walking out of a beach cabana together. I even got an anonymous message on Facebook. Your wife and Blake are here. They're not even hiding it. That message felt like a live grenade. Then came the financial irregularities. An alert from my bank flagged strange charges. A boutique I didn't recognize, a high-end dinner in a coastal town I'd never heard Lauren mention, a charge at a resort spa. That one stung. Apparently my trust had been co-signed with convenience. She'd been dipping into joint accounts for her little vacations and not telling me. The idea of my money funding her betrayal made the anger practical, rooted in ledgers and signatures, not just bruised pride. I could have driven down to the resort, burst into a cabana, and created the scene she probably wished for. She'd have filmed it, broadcast it, played the wounded wife. No, if she thought I'd make myself the spectacle, she underestimated me. I would not hand her the narrative. I would not give her the drama she craved to manipulate sympathy. So I boxed the rage and turned it into a plan. I would collect proof, document everything, protect what was ours, and let consequence do the talking. While she enjoyed sunrises under a false sky, I would be methodical, bank statements, screenshots, witness accounts, timestamps. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I needed to ensure she couldn't rewrite what she'd done. She thought her silence would bury the truth. Instead, it unearthed my resolve. If she wanted a war of quiet, she'd get one, but it would be a precise battle fought on my terms. The moment I decided I wouldn't be played for a fool, everything shifted from rage to procedure. Anger is loud and cathartic, but it's also messy, and messy would have given Lauren the narrative she wanted. So I stopped screaming into the void and started building a case. Step 1. Legal. I called an attorney the next morning. I explained everything, her space, the Instagram posts, Blake's presence in the photos, the bank alerts. The lawyer didn't blink. She pulled up the statutes for North Carolina, where adultery can still be a factor in divorce proceedings. That gave me leverage. We drafted separation paperwork and initiated the earliest possible filing to protect my interests. That move did something subtle but important. It put a legal clock on the situation and began an official record of my response. Courts like chronology, I was determined to be the one who set the timeline. Step 2. Financial containment. I went to my bank and froze all joint accounts. I called every creditor that had issued cards in both our names and revoked authorizations linked to her phone and cards. My phone carrier was notified, her line, which I had paid, was terminated. I redirected utility bills and service notifications so no surprise reactivations could happen. The aim was simple and practical. Cut off the bankroll that funded her little vacation so she couldn't keep living as though nothing had happened. Within hours, she no longer had free access to the resources she'd been using behind my back. Step 3. Logistics. I hired a professional moving crew on a discrete schedule and arranged for a short-term storage unit miles away. I didn't take everything, just her clothing, personal items, and the things that signaled domestic presence. The half-used skincare bottles, the shoes lined up by the closet, the designer tote she never left behind. Each box was labeled, itemized, and photographed. I kept digital and physical inventories. By the time she was due back, the house would feel less like a shared space and more like mine again. Step 4. The market move. With counsel's nod, I listed the house on the market at a competitive price. Not spitefully overpriced, just enough below market to ensure quick offers. Within 72 hours, I had multiple, legitimate buyers. That listing did two things at once. It asserted my financial control and created urgency for her return that would be brutally inconvenient for someone expecting a warm welcome home. A for sale sign in the yard is undeniable. It broadcasts change in a language anyone understands. Step 5. Evidence consolidation. Meanwhile, Chris and I assembled everything. Screenshots, timestamps, the bank alerts, the anonymous tip, the resort photos. They were all collated into a single folder. I printed hard copies, created encrypted backups, and organized the digital trail with metadata to show dates and times. I even asked a neighbor who'd seen Lauren at the resort to text me what they'd seen. Witness statements aren't glamorous, but they're useful. The goal was to make it impossible for her to rewrite the story. This wasn't theater. It wasn't a petty social media takedown. It was slow, deliberate, and legal. I wasn't interested in public spectacle that could be spun. I was building an airtight case that would protect my future, my assets, and my dignity. When she walked back through that door, I wanted there to be no ambiguity about who controlled the narrative and who controlled the house. Lauren's downfall began the very moment she pulled into the driveway. 2 weeks into her so-called month away, she must have believed she could glide back into the house, toss out some flimsy excuse, maybe even paint me as paranoid. Instead, what greeted her was a bright red for sale sign planted in the yard like a tombstone for our marriage. I watched from the window as she got out of her car, confusion curdling into panic. She tried her key. Nothing. The locks had been changed. She pounded on the door hard enough that neighbors started stepping onto their porches, phones already in hand. Finally, I opened it, standing there with the kind of calm she didn't expect. "What the hell is this?" she demanded. I didn't yell. I didn't flinch. I simply held out a slip of paper with the storage unit address. "Your things are there." She shoved past me, storming through rooms that looked stripped bare. Her framed photos, her carefully curated decor, her racks of clothes, all gone. Only the essentials remained. She spun around, face twisted in rage, and screamed that I was cruel, vindictive, destroying her life. I handed her the separation papers. That's when her voice cracked. Her tantrum ended with a call to the police, but that backfired too. When the officers arrived and saw my deed, they explained plainly, she had no legal right to enter. Watching her escorted off the property while neighbors whispered and filmed, well, I won't pretend it wasn't satisfying. Her next move was predictable: damage control. She jumped on social media, painting herself as a victim, claiming I was abusive and controlling. But the internet has a long memory. Screenshots of her vacation with Blake resurfaced. Comment sections turned brutal. Even her own sister called me, apologizing for defending her at first. Her mother phoned me in outrage, but when I told her to look at Instagram, silence replaced fury. 10 minutes later she called back, stunned. Then came the professional fallout. Lauren's company learned she'd used a corporate expense card during the trip. That discovery dragged Blake down with her. He was demoted, she was suspended, then fired within weeks. Their grand beachside romance suddenly looked less like love and more like career suicide. When Lauren went to collect her things from the storage unit, she botched even that, left the unit unlocked. Several boxes vanished. Jewelry, handbags, shoes. She blamed me, of course, but the security footage proved negligence on her part. Her final gambit was desperation wrapped in lies. An email: she was pregnant. The math didn't add up, her own timeline contradicted itself. My attorney dismissed it instantly, and the bluff crumbled. By the end, she had nothing. No job, no home, no steady income. Blake bailed once the pressure mounted. From sipping cocktails on the beach to sleeping on friends' couches, her descent was swift and merciless. I sold the house, pocketed the profit, and bought a smaller place closer to work. I walked away lighter, freer, and determined never to let betrayal blindside me again. Would you like me to expand the humiliation scene further? Like neighbors filming and posting videos that went viral? Or keep it sharp and focused as it is now? Looking back now, I see the whole thing with a kind of clarity I didn't have in the heat of the moment. At first, I thought I was losing everything. My wife, my stability, the future I had envisioned. But what I was really losing was an illusion. Lauren wasn't who I believed she was. She was playing a part, wearing a mask, and the second she thought she could get away with it, she dropped it. Do I regret what I did? Not a chance. Every step I took was deliberate. She thought she could run off to the beach with Blake, charge it on a corporate card, and come back to the comfort of a life I built. She thought I'd be too passive, too forgiving, too blind with love to act. What she didn't realize was that betrayal is like gasoline. It doesn't weaken you. It fuels you. The truth has a funny way of surfacing. It hides in Instagram stories, in receipts left in a purse, in careless words said to the wrong person. Lauren thought she was clever, but all it took was one beach photo for her empire of lies to collapse. She underestimated me, underestimated the law, and most of all, underestimated the power of her own arrogance. Revenge doesn't always mean screaming matches or throwing punches. Sometimes the most devastating revenge is quiet, calculated, and absolute. I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to destroy her. I simply let her own actions do that for me. I set the stage, and she walked herself right into the trap. If there's one lesson I'll carry for life, it's this: never ignore red flags. The late nights at work. The coworker who's just a friend. The sudden need for space. They weren't harmless quirks, they were warnings. And I was too trusting, too willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Blind loyalty is dangerous when given to someone who hasn't earned it. But here's the silver lining: I came out stronger. I didn't just survive betrayal, I rose above it. I learned that my worth doesn't depend on anyone else's choices. I learned how to protect myself, how to be strategic, and how to walk away with my dignity intact. Lauren and I? We're finished. There's no going back, no reconciliation, no lingering what-ifs. She gambled and lost. And me? I'm free, focused, and happier than I've been in years. Sometimes the end of a marriage isn't the end of your story. It's the start of a much better one. That was my story: the lies, the betrayal, and how I turned heartbreak into justice. But now I want to hear yours. Have you ever been cheated on, manipulated, or completely blindsided by someone you trusted with your whole heart? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and your words might help someone else who's walking through the same kind of pain. And if you're drawn to real-life stories of betrayal, shocking secrets, and the kind of karma you can almost feel through the screen, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what's coming next is even wilder, and trust me, you don't want to miss it.